Hello again, everybody. Welcome to USA Wrestling Weekly. I'm Scott Casper, and from the national governing body of our sport, it's time for USA Wrestling News. Let's start in Tehran, Iran. It's where the World Cup for men's freestyle and Greco-Roman took place. It's the annual World Cup, the by invitation only premier international dual meet tournament, and only the top teams in the world are invited. The event was scheduled to take place prior to the day when the IOC's executive board recommended that wrestling be removed as a core sport at the 2020 Olympic Games. The World Cup suddenly had even more significance. The world truly would be watching the event for a variety of reasons. What happened was an incredible week of international wrestling. The United States was one of the 10 teams in the field of the Freestyle World Cup. Sellout crowds jammed the Azadi Sports Hall in Tehran to see the elite of the sport do what they do: compete. Team USA brought a focused and talented squad to compete. For competition purposes, the World Cup teams are split into two different random groups. The U.S. joined the pool with host Iran and teams from Bulgaria, Japan, and Belarus. The competition was heavy from the start. Team USA had 3 dual meets to start the first day. The Americans started off with a 5-2 win over Georgia, clinching the team win after just the 5th bout. 2010 World Team member, 145-pound star Brent Metcalf scored big over Malka Zarkua, 2-0-1-0. Olympic champ Jordan Burroughs hit the mat and won his first bout since his victory at the 2012 London Games. Burroughs shook the hand of Jacob Makashvili and then put him away in 2 straight periods with a 3-0-2-1 score. Olympic heavyweight Tervel Delegnev closed out the win with a solid 2-1-1-0 win of his own. Now, the team from the land of the rising sun, Japan, was next for Team USA, but they were no match for the Americans as they fell by the same 5-2 score. 3 stars won their second matches in a row, including Jordan Burroughs, who shut out Suzuki Tatatani 2-0-7-0 the final. Then it was Metcalf's turn to go again. He made it 2 in a row with a third period pin over Tosh Ashida. Tervel Delegnev scored a huge pin to put a point on it when he put away the Japanese star Tomoyuki Ota. The intensity in the arena had grown. It was palpable. Next on the schedule of appointments for Team USA would be the host team, the men from Iran. The arena was filled with Iranian fans cheering for their heroes, and with the help of the partisan crowd, Iran won the first 3 bouts before Jordan Burroughs stepped onto the mat. He was there to wrestle as Ayatollah Akbari Zurin Kolai. Amazingly, the Iranian fans began chanting, "Jordan, Jordan." Burroughs scored a 4-0-2-0 victory, along with the tremendous applause from the fans. Iran was able to sweep the last 3 matches of the dual meet to score a 6-1 win over the USA. With the win, Iran clinched a spot in the finals against the mighty Russian Bear. The second day started with the final pool bout for the U.S. The Yanks stormed to a 7-0 victory there. Team USA looked strong in the lightweights. Obi Blanc won the first period 1-0, then scored an impressive 6-0 tech fall in the second to beat Mohamed Fariam. Jimmy Kennedy followed at 132 with a tech fall of his own. He dominated Stefan Ivanov 6-0, 9-2. Brent Metcalf won again, this time over Nikolai Kurtev 1-0, 3-0. Jordan Burroughs was in command, a 7-0, 6-0 tech fall over Stefan Kurevov. After 2 forfeit wins, Tervel Delegnev had his own tech fall in a 6-0, 6-0 thrashing of Dragomir Stoichev. USA's performance moved them in contention for third, where they would meet Belarus. Coming out with 5 straight wins, Team USA came out strong and scored a 6-1 win over the Belarusians, claiming third place. How'd they do it? Well, Jordan Burroughs handled Ali Shabanov 1-1, 5-0 and won his 5th straight. Burroughs' winning streak now sits at 43, dating back to the spring of 2011. Brent Metcalf and Tervel Delegnev both finished up with 4 wins each. It took Metcalf 3 periods to stop veteran star Alexander Kutiev by the score of 1-0, 6-0. Delegnev shut down Vadzim Shavada. The exciting 185-pound Max Askren provided yet another highlight when he scored a pin in the second period over Mir Makhmedov. Host Iran defended its World Cup team title with a dominant 6-1 victory in the finals. Turkey was 5th with a win over Georgia, and Japan placed 7th, stopping Kazakhstan 4-3. Azerbaijan was 9th, handling Bulgaria. Assistant National Freestyle Coach Bill Zadek talked about the U.S. performance.
I think overall we're excited about our effort. Third place is not terrible. It's not where we want to be, of course. We want to win the title always, and we're going to continue to strive to that end. But in light of the fact of where we are coming off the Olympics and our athletes, taking the downtime they need to refresh themselves mentally as well as physically. I think we had a solid performance.
Well, U.S. freestyle stars in Iran had a lot to say.
You're at an event, you're competing against each other, so you're kind of at each other's throats, I guess. And there is some friendship in between countries, but I think there's a lot more now. There's a lot more communication between all countries. Because they can all sympathize with each other. We all lost something that's dear to us. Which is the opportunity to wrestle in the Olympic Games.
It doesn't matter where you're from to them. It matters. When they see something nice, they'll cheer. When they see good wrestling, they'll cheer. And they had a couple signs in English, and they were all "Save Olympic Wrestling." We can't go without it. And they truly believe that they can't go without it. And the president of Iran showed up to the dual meet. It's a pretty big deal, and they came down and shook all our hands and took a picture with us.
It was actually a pretty good tournament as far as being the World Cup. All the countries that are there actually can come together and talk about, what the next step is to keep wrestling alive, to keep it in the Olympics and not let it get cut.
Well, wrestling is Iran's national sport, and that alone made the World Cup an amazing atmosphere. Adding even more intensity to the event was the international wrestling community's apparent unity in purpose behind the effort to keep wrestling in the Olympic Games. National Teams Director Mitch Hall knows the Iranian people and talks about the significance of this year's trip.
This is different because it was a team competition. All of these others were individual, that you kept a team score, but you were representing teams. So when the Iran team came out, it was an hour and a half of just Iranians for their fans. And when our team came out, they were supporting our team, not just an individual, but the team. So yeah, it had a different feel to it than the others.
Sharing his perspective, another veteran of past trips to Iran, USA Wrestling Executive Director Rich Bender.
This was the first major international competition from when after the executive board made their recommendation, or has made their recommendation for wrestling to be considered to be removed from the core program. And I think the wrestling community stepped up. The worldwide wrestling community was there in force, and obviously I think it was a great spectacle for the sport of wrestling. We're fierce competitors on the mat, and I think fierce allies off the mat. The Iranian Wrestling Federation, USA Wrestling, has had a long and rich history. The U.S. wrestling team was the first sports team to enter Iran after the revolution, but the relationships between the two federations are extremely strong.
During the medal ceremony, Iran, Russia, and the U.S. shared the stage as Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad posed for a group photo with the American and Iranian athletes. In mere moments, the photo was blasted to all points around the globe, a significant sign of the international goodwill provided through this sport. Stay tuned, we'll be back. You're watching USA Wrestling Weekly.
ASICS has been there. They've been the lifeblood of the sport. It's been a long time, and they've been at the top of the game every year, forever. And I'll tell you what, now that I think about it, maybe that's where I've gotten my inspiration, because I always want to be in the top of my game in wrestling, and I think that's where ASICS is and wants to be as well.
The 2013 World Team Trials for both juniors and seniors will be held June 20th through the 23rd in Stillwater, Oklahoma. This is your chance to see national champs, world medalists, Olympians all competing to see who will represent the U.S. at the World Championships in Budapest, Hungary, and the FILA Junior World Championships in Sofia, Bulgaria. Visit www.theworldteamtrials.com for all your ticketing and travel information. ASICS is the proud sponsor of USA Wrestling's national teams.
Well, the World Cup was a microscope of sorts as traditional media was treated to a view of the passion of wrestling fans from around the globe. Major international media were in Tehran to see the sport firsthand. The sellout crowds and spirit of international cooperation was not only evident, it was reported by news organizations from around the world. Our friends at ABC Nightly News gave an inspiring update from Tehran.
The signs and the crowd side by side in English and Farsi, we are all wrestling fans. And in the corner, Jordan Burroughs, who trained in Nebraska for the Olympics, beating Iran for the gold. And still, when his name is called here, from the United States of America, the cheers are deafening. And just listen to them chanting his name. This American cheered on even here. And Jordan wins again.
Well, wrestling leaders from around the world came together at the World Cup for competition and unity, both to build a worldwide coalition to keep wrestling in the Olympic Games. USA Wrestling Executive Director Rich Bender met with his peers from other nations, initiating the effort that would unite and build the case to keep and promote wrestling as an Olympic sport. Here's Rich Bender.
Well, there's incredible unity amongst the wrestling nations of the world wanting the same thing, and that is for wrestling to remain strong, remain a core part of the Olympic program. And I think there's a huge coalition building from around the world of like-minded federations and organizations that want to work together to impress upon the International Olympic Committee to ensure wrestling has its rightful place on the Olympic program. And I think the wrestling nations stand unified and ready as the International Wrestling Federation puts the finishing touches on its strategy to approach the IOC and communicate with the IOC and use this as an opportunity to move our sport forward.
When the initial announcement of wrestling's not-so-bright Olympic future was coming to light, a groundswell of support for the sport followed the news as it broke around the globe. Large and small groups, young and old, different languages, and in different countries. Well, the impact was real and heartfelt. USA Wrestling's Richard Emmel collected these amazing images from around the world. We invite you to make a difference and keep up to date. Visit the Facebook page, Keep Wrestling in the Olympics, as often as you can, or visit keepwrestlingintheolympics wrestling.com. Stay tuned. We'll be back. You're watching USA Wrestling Weekly.
Wrestlers, are you ready for the next step? USA Wrestling challenges you to test your skills at the USA Wrestling Cliff King Athletic Folkstyle Nationals. Become a national champion. Head to the Unidome in Cedar Falls, Iowa on April 5th and 6th to compete against the best wrestlers in the country. Last year's event featured 1,200 cadet and junior wrestlers from 32 states on 26 mats. For more information about this event and other tournaments, visit usawrestlingevents.com.
Each season, Liberty Mutual's Responsible Sports Community Grant Program awards $65,000 to youth sports organizations and school sports programs that demonstrate their commitment to responsibility in youth sports. Your organization could be one of our 20 winners this season. It's easy. Simply visit responsiblesports.com and click on the Community Grant Program. Administrators register their organization with the program, then reach out to rally parents, coaches, and team supporters to log on and review either the Responsible Sports Parenting or Responsible Coaching Guide. Then complete the quiz and showcase your mastery of the concepts. Every successfully passed quiz is worth a point that you can credit to your favorite youth sports organization or school sports program. Connect with friends, family, and neighbors to rally more support. The teams and schools with the most points at the end of the grant period win. It's that simple. Watch the leaderboard throughout the grant season, then rally more of your supporters to increase your totals. Liberty Mutual is committed to celebrating and championing youth sports and to financially supporting organizations that demonstrate their commitment to responsible sports. Join the movement and start earning points toward your community grant.
Well, the attention of the collegiate wrestling community was on the Twin Cities last weekend for the finals of the NWCA National Duels. 8 of the elite teams in the nation made up the field. 4 of the finalists had won regional duels the week before. Last year, if you recall, the finals were held in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Minnesota came calling to grab the title. This time, the defending champ Gophers would act as host to the visiting Cowboys from Stillwater. Friday night, the first round action, the quarterfinals. The top 3 seeded teams won right off the bat. Oklahoma State handled Illinois 33-3. Second seeded Iowa had a tough bout but came out ahead of Cornell 21-16. And defending champion Minnesota beat Virginia Tech 28-8. The only bout that did not hold the seed came when number 5 seed Missouri beat number 4 seed Ohio State 28-6. Brian Smith's Tigers won 8 of the 10, including the last 7 matches in a row. Missouri has put together a strong lineup across the board in its first year in the MAC. We go to Saturday night. The semifinals, Minnesota had to face Big Ten rival Iowa. J. Rob's Gophers put together a great effort, winning 6 matches for a 22-15 win. The big men of the Minnesota lineup closed it out strongly, winning the last 4 with Logan Storley at 174, Kevin Steinhaus at 184 pounds, Scotty Schiller at 197, and NCAA champion Tony Nelson at heavyweight. A pin provided big points for Minnesota. NCAA runner-up and 149-pound star Dylan Ness took it to Iowa's Mike Kelly and finished with the pin. Nick Dardane scored a major decision over Mark Ballweg at 141 pounds. We go to other semifinal action. Oklahoma State defeated Missouri 22-9. NCAA champ Jordan Oliver got the ball rolling with a major decision over Drake Hudeshelt at 149 pounds. The Cowboys would win 5 straight middleweight bouts to put the match away, but not so fast. It was a highly anticipated showdown at heavyweight, and by a narrow margin, Cowboy Anagalagayev defeated the number 1 ranked Don Bradley 4-3. This set up the rematch of last year's finals, but this year's event was in MPLS. That's Minneapolis for you folks. It was cold and snowy in Minneapolis. The Gophers opened up hot with 3 straight wins, including a 14-5 major from 141-pound star Nick Dardanes over Julian Fikert. This gave them a 10-0 early lead. The Cowboys grabbed some leather and mounted a comeback. 149-pound star NCAA champ Jordan Oliver needed a late escape to avoid overtime against NCAA runner-up Dylan Ness. It ended with a 6-4 decision. Alex Derringer followed with a tight win over Danny Zilverberg 3-1 at 157. And NCAA runner-up Tyler Caldwell beat Cody Yawn 7-2 at 165. That put the score 10-9 on the scoreboard, Minnesota's favor. Then, with the crowd roaring its approval, Minnesota's Big Four would respond. With a pin in overtime, Logan Storley defeated top-ranked Chris Perry at 174. The two were locked in a 1-1 match in the first set of tiebreakers when Storley, from the bottom position, grabbed a hold of Perry's head during a scramble and scored a defensive fall. Are you kidding me? At 184 pounds, Cowboy Chris Gianomo led early trying to upset Kevin Steinhaus, and with 25 seconds to go, Steinhaus scored a takedown and the 4-3 victory. Oklahoma State needed a win from Blake Rochald at 97 if they were going to have a chance to come back. Gopher Scott Schiller emerged with a 6-2 victory, clinching it for Minnesota. The Gophers and Cowboys weren't done. At the 4-minute, 51-second mark of the bout, 2012 NCAA champ Tony Nelson used a half Nelson to pin heavyweight Alan Gulagayev. Amazingly, the outcome was the same as last year, with Minnesota stopping Oklahoma State 28-9. In the third-place bout, Missouri won 6 matches, including the 3 highest weight classes, for an 18-16 victory of their own. As you might guess, the national rankings shuffled a bit. Minnesota moved to number 1, Oklahoma State slid to number 2, Penn State held the number 3 spot, and Missouri, well, they got their first ever number 4 ranking. Next up, the conference championships, the first this weekend when the Pac-12 championships will be wrestled at Arizona State. Stay tuned, we'll be back. You're watching USA Wrestling Weekly.
There comes a point in your life that determines who you are, whether you will lead or follow, whether you will fight or give in, whether you will win or lose, and what you will count as your victory.
USA Wrestling's Richard Emmel covered last weekend's Colorado State High School Wrestling Championships. The annual event continues to draw one of the largest crowds in the country. He caught up with the athletes and coaches on the effort to keep wrestling in the Olympics.
For the sport, it's such a sad thing, and it's a national sport of a few countries, and it's been there ever since the first Olympics in the late 19th century, so it's definitely sad. But I have a pretty good feeling that it'll come back, just because people will see how big of a deal it was.
It's disappointing when I first heard it. It's like getting hit by a train, I was thinking about after college trying to, train a little bit, try to go, but hopefully it'll come back. I've signed a lot of petitions and just followed it all. There you go, finish! Come up to your feet! Peterson!
That's terrible because the Olympics is based on 3 sports and wrestling is one of them. The ancient Greeks did all the time, so it's pretty sad they took it out of the Olympics.
I think it would be the worst thing they could do for wrestling. I think if they do that, wrestling will be done as we know it in 2040. I really do. I think it's a horrible idea. I think it's something we need to get back in, and I think we will. I think the wrestling community as a whole will get it back in.
Hey, it's time for our Photo of the Week contest. The pictures are sent in by families and fans from around the country and are being considered for the photo contest page in our USA Wrestler magazine, as well as our USA Wrestling Facebook page. This week's photo is sent in by Sarah Loman, depicting 9-year-old Jamari Loman of the Marcarelli Wrestling Club in Connecticut, competing in the USA Wrestling Connecticut State Tournament that took place in New Haven. Loman won the state title at 60 pounds. Nice job. Folks, you can have your photographs considered for all of our contests simply by emailing them to our friend Gary Abbott at gabbott@usawrestling.org. We're running late to the end of it, folks. Thanks for watching this very important episode of the show. For all of us at USA Wrestling, thank you. Good night.